Okay, good afternoon colleagues, we will get started. Welcome to the December edition of GFM Talks. We have two talks this afternoon, the first of which comes from Georgina Mulhall and Karen Digby from Digby Junior School, who are going to talk about STEM and the importance of STEM across the curriculum in the face of the GFM. So I'll hand over to Georgina and Karen.
Karen and I have just had a quick chat, and having looked at our fabulous audience this afternoon, we are well aware that you have a reasonable amount of information about the STEM journey at primary. So what we'd like to draw your attention to today is that a lot of our journey has been based on action research, and that has been published. And actually there are now more organisations who are researching and profiling in the world of STEM, particularly at primary level. So we just wanted to prompt that we should be really proud as an organisation that we have been trailblazing with our STEM endeavours. And if we're to maintain that momentum, particularly as there's quite a lot of school leaders in the room, what can we do to make sure that we maintain our existing curriculums, build on those, and then use the practice that we're seeing at primary to cascade into secondary also. And we'll explore some of the research and some of the recent developments which will support that.
So in developing what we have done so far at primary, we have come across three frequent questions, and these are these. Why should we integrate STEM into schools? So teachers just asking, why on earth are you trying to get something into the national curriculum that isn't there? How do we integrate it? What do we do then? So we've decided, yes, we will, but then how? And what research supports what you're doing? And that last one has actually meant that some people haven't joined the journey that perhaps could have done. They wanted to know more about the research. So this is aimed partly at those people as well who want to know more about why on earth we did what we did and why we went on the journey we did in the direction we did. So,
we recognised really early on it was really important we had clarity behind what we were doing, and we're really clear about the pedagogy to our STEM approach. And we were really fortunate that we were able to work with Portsmouth University to help clarify our curriculum offer. Karen will talk through our learning wheel shortly, and I think part of the key here is how we have worked with other organisations and how we want to continue to do that. And we'll talk in a little bit more detail about who those people are shortly.
Part of the how was based around this. So once we had this model of an engineering design process and of a child-friendly engineering design process, we realised that actually this was going to support our staff as much as it was helping our children. As a result, to sort of demonstrate to you how it can structure perhaps a set of lessons, or it can structure an entire lesson, or however you want to use it, I've actually done a presentation based on this particular model and looked at our journey from 2015 to now in this particular cycle. So in order to start off, we did do our thinking and our research, and we're going to go through each stage of that and explain how that looked. The reason being that some of the documents we're going to show are ones that I would recommend as great reading material in order to implement this in the school.
Interestingly, when we mention the word STEM, some colleagues will think it has to be isolated to any one of those subject disciplines. And when we, at the GFM STEM forum, when we were able to talk about engineering habits of mind and to showcase that with colleagues across the GFM, they then really had a better understanding of actually how engineering habits of mind is relevant and useful to all areas of the curriculum. So where we talked about it at the beginning about wanting to be able to cascade primary practice into secondary, we think that our engineering habits of mind is really key to that. And if we look around the STEM sector, it's not an accident that we've got engineering habits of mind all around the room right now. And then this sits centrally to the learning wheel that Karen's just shared.
It certainly does. And the engineering habits of mind comes from thinking like an engineer, which is the first piece of research done by the Royal Academy of Engineering. When we were starting our STEM journey, they were just publishing this paper, which had the engineering habits of mind wheel in it. And in that particular paper, the first one that they did, they were saying, well, how can we get more engineers coming out of school, coming out of university, what is the crux of it? And they decided that actually children perhaps weren't thinking like engineers, and then they unpicked what that meant. And that's how they ended up with the engineering habits of mind and the learning habits of mind. They thought that actually if children from any age, from any discipline, in any subject, could get their head around these particular skills earlier in their schooling, then perhaps more of them will be inclined to want to use those skills later in the STEM subjects. Since then, we've realised, obviously, it's not just STEM subjects in which this particular will be used, and that's how we have moved forward with it.
Can I add to that, Karen, that seeing colleagues in the room who are perhaps starting to develop their own STEM journey, when we work with other schools or other colleagues, we're really clear that we're not prescriptive about what that curriculum will look like, but by understanding engineering habits of mind, that then enables individual settings or colleagues to decide actually how this can then be implemented in an existing curriculum offer, or perhaps how to enhance it or to develop, as opposed to pigeonholing, for example, particular learning units or being prescriptive. So it's really key and important to us that we understand the engineering habits of mind alongside the learning process.
The key recommendations from the previous document are ones in which, these are the ones in which we started our journey. So disseminating key messages about what an engineering mindset is. Now we have disseminated that to you possibly quite a few times now, to the point that people know what engineering habits of mind are, they know what we mean when we say it, and that's exactly what we wanted. We have literally immersed people in it so many times that they know what it means. The signature pedagogies we've certainly worked in our school using. It's now up to us and perhaps other schools to be taking on some of those. Having the Infuse bursary that we've had has helped us do that, helped us reach out to different places. We're still obviously in the early stages of that with regards to Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4, and getting that through there. Developing teacher capacity to change and adapt curriculum is a big one, and one that we had to invest in quite heavily as a school over a couple of academic years, having regular meetings where we talked about pedagogy, we talked about curriculum, how that would need to change in order to embed an engineering habit of mind ethos in what we were doing. Making a school a place which becomes a foundation for lifelong learning was a recommendation of this particular document as well. As I say, came out in 2015. Now we as an establishment already have our own foundations for learning, which links in very well with this. So the engineering habits of mind mindset isn't something completely different to what we're doing as a GFM as a whole anyway, which makes life a little bit easier. I think it's not brand new, as you were saying.
Zipping ahead, as I say, we're trying to align this to current research as well as our own journey. We recognise it was really important to then start working with others, and this really is just a snapshot of some of the organisations that we've been working with to develop our own understanding, our own CPD, and to be able to develop our own offer in the school. And I think it's really, really important that obviously we're working with local organisations to make sure that there's a real context for learning. So that when our students might identify, well actually, why might I want to engage in this area of learning, why is it relevant, we can give a real tangible reason or purpose for that focus. And we found that also that all of these people have been able to provide resources and then key ideas to our curriculum approach. The one that stands out that we used earlier on was our practical action.
Practical action of these people here, a lot of this is business related, we have intertwined the areas where we get lots of resources as well. And I've been picky with that. There's so much on the internet that you can use that's related to STEM. Practical action and STEM learning, Royal Academy of Engineering are three big links online that will give you the best resources in my opinion. They're the ones that are either my go-tos and have really, really excellent resources which link to the engineering habits of mind, not simply infusing children in liking the science, which is often, sometimes, colourful bits of paper changing colour floating around, and it's not actually integrated into a learning journey, it's simply a wow event. So these businesses and links to online services are a select few. There are plenty around, these are a select few that we go to time and time again. Once you've made good links with people that can support you, we realised it led us into where we wanted to actually start putting this properly into our curriculum. So we started creating, we started testing, we started trialling putting the engineering wheel into our school. Now you'll see I've put dates on them. 2015 we had a great idea, 2016 we started developing it, 2017 was the time that we really started mastering it and getting a great hold of it, to such an extent that the Royal Academy of Engineering came and found us and said, hang on a second, you're using our wheel, can you tell us about it? Can you tell us about how you're embedding that into your school? So what we had developed was a really effective model that we think now can be used in other places. The best thing that we have done is asked people to work with us, and we have shared with others, and that has enabled us to create a mastered approach of what we're doing.
Yeah. The research continues. The Institution of Mechanical Engineering are really clear that actually we're wanting to engage our learners, and ultimately, yes, they would like there to be a lot more engineers. We have a skills gap in our country, we're trying to help address that. But going back to the engineering habits of mind, they also recognise that those core skills, those soft skills, are going to be useful and relevant regardless of what our young people are going to do for their future learning or future career choices as well.
Finally, the Royal Academy of Engineering have now started putting this into, or started suggesting that this is put into initial teacher training, which is something we can certainly get on board with the GFM. Starting to encourage trainee teachers to understand the importance of EHOM before they get into schools. We have a slightly more challenging job in order to, we are more changing the mindsets of teachers than we already have. And that has been a challenge, but it's not a challenge that is impossible. It's certainly one that we have managed. So incorporating STEM through the wider curriculum rather than simply using extracurricular clubs or science fairs is something that we've had complete passion in doing, to making STEM more than that. And hopefully, with more initial teacher training courses taking these sorts of things up, we will be having people joining us that know about this already. So it will be up to us as established teachers to start pulling that out and allowing teachers to show this new way of teaching, or this perhaps an enhanced way of teaching, and for us not to knock on the head before it's even possible.
But we recognise we probably then have a responsibility to trainee teachers to be able to continue with this approach, and therefore enable a platform in our own schools so that they can use those skills and have those running throughout our curriculums, which is really quite exciting, because if we go back to when we started this, there wasn't that research, or there wasn't that thinking that actually this is incredibly valuable to class-based learning.
This was a little snippet before we finish, and Engineering Habits of Mind offer a new way of thinking about engineering in UK schools. And as I say, we started our journey in 2015. Not quite the same in the United States. They are well established. 6 EHOM were proposed for school level engineering and incorporated formally into their curriculum in 2013. So this is just a little message that we are already behind the times with regards to the rest of the world. We need to really take stock of that and think about how quickly we are integrating ourselves into the rest of the world, and how quickly other people are going, and the pace at which they're doing it. It's really quite serious. And if we go right back to the beginning, and the initial reason we started integrating STEM into what we were doing, it was to ensure that we didn't get left behind. So it's a message that we need to keep sort of to the fore.
And to enable you to continue with that endeavour and to help you, Karen has found this very recently, and it's just also been shared by the IRE. And this will be a way that actually, if you're in a setting in which you're not having a direct CPD around STEM, everybody can access this online training. so that you can then actually develop your understanding of STEM, what STEM might look like in your setting, skills necessary, so that then you can then work forward potentially with your own STEM curriculum or STEM disciplines or engineering habits of mind in your particular subject area.
That's it for us. Yeah, thank you.
And if you did want, thank you. But if you did want to find out anything more specifically about our STEM, if you Google GSTEM, then you'll have a range of information there. So thank you very much.